ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO and the king of the mock draft, Zach Stanley.
Jonald, today I feel like a bridge over troubled water.
It's funny that you bring that up because today on the Star Fantasy League Show, I feel like we have a lot to ponder.
It's actually more of a moat outside of my castle.
Oh, you had these. Wow, you had these lined up and ready to go.
I had those. I thought of those a few minutes before the show, and I felt pretty great about it.
Well, this was the first time that I actually decided to get involved because I felt like we do have a lot to ponder, and not in the pun way. Not in the pun way at all. I meant that seriously. I don't want to talk about Christian Ponder.
Aye, Captain.
I can't believe that's a real person's name. I was reading that.
That's a great name.
That's just Captain Munnerlyn. That's
Munnerlyn.
not a real thing. Nick Steblenko, pun me. Come on.
No, I'm all set today.
He's got a lot of heart, this one.
No, I don't know. I think I'm all set. You guys have set the bar really high.
I'm waiting. I know that something is happening.
Maybe you already missed it.
Okay. Yeah, first round draft pick, Anthony Barr. That one. Yeah.
Pretty good.
I'm waiting. Usually you get to a point
It's
where you.
okay. Don't worry. Someday I'll get you tangled in my web.
He's gone. But
Yes, he is.
Oh, that's the one. I usually wait until you guys screw up on a pun or it's really not that funny, and then we move on. But today is a day where we're going over the 2014-15 Minnesota Vikings, and I just feel like they're a sad sack. So we should spend time talking puns, right? They're just a sad team.
I don't know about sad. How do you feel? How do you figure they're sad?
They're a hopeful team.
Okay.
I wouldn't be sad if I had Adrian Peterson on my team.
Okay. Obviously, they have Adrian Peterson, but we're going to get to it. I feel like they are a team that's kind of they depress me a little bit.
Well, they've got some exciting playmakers, and that's really all you can ask for when you're not that good.
All right, so before we get to the 2014-15 Minnesota Vikings, I want to talk about some interesting news and notes because there was a football game that was billed by the four-letter as the biggest preseason game ever to happen. I don't know if that's real. I'm sure that they did bill it that way.
It was very widely watched.
I don't understand how they build it like that, though.
Because it involved RG3, who's a hype machine, Johnny Manziel, who's a hype machine.
So it involved two quarterbacks who are amounting to next to nothing.
It's what happens when you get to broadcast the game that makes the news.
That is very true.
It's called a conflict of interest.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, Zach, you weren't here when we actually talked about RG3. I felt like you were kind of left out of the conversation. We were all pretty low on RG3 going into the season. And after watching him last night, what is wrong with him? He tried to get beat up in that. He specifically was running into tacklers.
And you know what? The thing that's really bothering me is that Nick is right. Nick is right. These checkdowns and first reads are every play.
It's bothering you that I'm right, or it's bothering you that he
Both.
does that? Okay.
I mean,
I just want to make sure.
I just don't understand what's going on. It seems like there's a curve that just didn't curve.
He has a ceiling, and he has reached it.
Yeah,
But he's worse.
Are we reevaluating our outlook for the Washington Redskins, like receivers? Are we worried about Pierre Garçon? Are we worried about Deshaun Jackson, Jordan Reed?
No, because my boy Kirk Cousins is going to come in and fix the whole thing.
I do enjoy that you are still utterly in love with Kirk Cousins.
I think he is a much better fit, just like much of the football world believes that he is a much better fit than Robert Griffin III.
We should give an honorable mention to a certain quarterback who was helping out his past team, Colt McCoy, throwing a pick six in that game. It felt right watching him throw to the wrong team.
Yeah, well, how about this? How about the fact that Coach Pettin said that he was going to announce a starting quarterback today? Not even close. He is not ready to do that at all.
Yeah,
he came out to his press conference and was basically like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Well, who's the third string quarterback on this team?
Who cares?
No, I'm saying that he might have to choose him after the way that those two guys played last night. Let's be honest, Johnny Manziel. He threw balls behind wide open receivers like it was his job. Like he could not give it to the receiver. Hoyer had a couple drops that should have been caught last night, especially for a touchdown early in the first quarter.
Yeah, he wasn't too good with his hands other than sticking his middle finger up at everybody.
Is anybody really surprised though? I mean, they have a middling running back who is backed up by an unproven rookie running back
who apparently everyone's drafting.
They have
a
receiving core whose top receiver probably isn't going to play this year. Behind that, they have nobody, and the line wasn't great last night either, so it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't just them, even though they were awful. The line wasn't good.
Do you think Johnny got yelled at? He didn't run at all last. He had 0 rushing attempts.
You mean yelled at because he didn't run?
No. Do you think he got yelled at and said, "Hey, we want to see how you actually throw the ball this game. Stay in the pocket."
I think he got yelled at by the Redskins sideline and then flipped him the bird.
I do think that the coaching staff probably told him to stay in the pocket as much as he could.
That's what I assume, because you just assume his first read is to run.
You saw this middle finger, right?
Yeah. Of course. We're just not acknowledging it because that's ESPN. They wanted to talk about it the entire night instead of actually.
I've never seen anything like that, especially from a rookie in preseason.
Yeah, I would love to say that is ridiculous. I can't believe that he has the balls to do that.
He's a child.
Yeah, he is.
He's what?
He's a kid.
Is
He's
he
running out onto the field and does a behind-the-back bird flip.
No, he just did it straight up in the air. He was like, "Hey."
No,
hey.
but I mean, he had his back turned to them.
Yeah, in his rearview mirror kind of thing.
What a good guy.
Okay, we've seen things before between players and between fans. I forget who a few years ago somebody flipped off a fan.
Yeah,
I think it was Vic.
Yeah, actually, I think that's happened a couple of times. But yeah,
flipping off the other sideline in your first big play of preseason is crazy.
They were just
as a rookie.
Apparently, they were laughing after the game, saying what a punk he is. He's just a joke.
He is.
It is. All right, let's talk about somebody that's actually going to have some impact. Him being off the team this season will have some impact. Poor Darnell Dockett for Arizona, man. They have just been really unlucky. Tyrann Mathieu, who they were really excited to get back for possibly week 1 and shore up that defense. He tore his ACL last year, coming back week 1. Now Darnell Dockett tears his ACL, MCL.
I mean, Darnell Dockett has had a very good career.
Yep.
I think he's 33 at this point.
He missed 2 games in the last 10 seasons.
I know.
2.
I know, but you could tell that over the last couple of years that he has digressed a little bit, but regardless, he was still a centerpiece of this defense.
He's still an anchor on the defense. A defense that was just exceeded expectations last. They were really good.
It is definitely going to hurt them because having a strong defensive line, a strong pass rush, always helps in the pass game for the secondary, and this is one of the better secondaries in the league with Patrick Peterson and hopefully Matthew back there. This is going to hurt. It's really going to hurt their chances.
It's upsetting because, I mean, we love that division. That's going to be one of the most exciting divisions, but when you lose a player like this, I think that's going to have more of a lasting effect than people think just on being one player. That, like we said, it's the centerpiece of the defense.
Yep.
It just feels like having your heart ripped out right before the season begins.
Yep.
It's like Sam Baker on the Falcons already having offensive line trouble, already tons of issues from last year dealing with that, and then they lose one of the starting offensive tackles.
Yep.
So, I mean, when these things hit right before it's about to be game time, it's brutal for these teams, and this defense is kind of in shambles right now.
Yeah, it's a little. They need Matthew
and
back.
They're going
week
up
1.
against a lot of really good defenses.
Yep.
So.
Well, luckily the defenses don't have to play each other. That would be a little difficult for them.
I think it would be interesting.
That would be really interesting if they did that.
Somebody's got to be able to throw.
Yeah.
This is true. All right, let's move on to the 2014-15 Minnesota Vikings, a team that you guys...
No, we don't have to do that.
See, I don't think this is a team that has much hope.
Here's the thing. Being a Packers fan in this division it's been very, very fun over the past few years.
Because you dominated?
Yeah, because it's been a Dom show. It's just been awesome. Peterson is the one piece in this entire division that scares the crap out of me, though.
Yeah,
he can single-handedly and has single-handedly destroyed Green Bay in the past couple of seasons.
Well, not only Green Bay, he destroys everybody. He only played 14 games last season. I think he missed 2 of the last 3 or something like that. 1,266 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns, 29 receptions, almost 200 yards and another touchdown. I mean, he's an absolute beast. He was on pace to get probably 1,800 total yards.
Total yards, yeah. I was going to say, if he plays the full 16 games, then he's got 1,500 yards on the ground.
He's a top 3 fantasy guy for the past 5 years in a row?
I would not be surprised to see him finish number 1 fantasy running back.
No, I wouldn't either. I think that Norv Turner is going to try to get him involved a little bit more in the passing game, which will only benefit.
Hopefully, yeah.
Which will only benefit him from a fantasy perspective. I mean, I never really understood why he was never involved in the passing game in any way.
Yeah, I mean, but he is such a beast when he's carrying the ball. Maybe they just figured
He can do anything with the ball in his hands. Just get it in his hands.
Yeah.
Get him in some open space or not, but
Yeah,
well,
that's
as
true.
soon as he gets into open space, all of a sudden he takes 2 or 3 strides and he's in full sprint.
Yeah.
It's just it is really cool to watch.
And I mean,
never had to deal
there
with
are,
it in the
there are
playoffs.
some things to look at here. There are some things to be excited about. Greg Jennings being there, he's still a solid receiver.
That's something good to talk about?
He's still a solid receiver.
He's still a solid receiver.
He just doesn't. He doesn't have a guy that can deliver the ball to him.
That's
Cordarrelle
true.
Patterson, some excitement there. I really think Norv Turner is a big part of all this.
Yeah, I think the 2 biggest additions to this team in the offseason are coaches. It's Norv Turner and Mike Zimmer's coming in. He was with Cincinnati the past couple of years. Their defense was really good. Nobody expected them to be as good. I think they were a top 5 defense last year, right?
Yep.
And
Sure.
he's coming. He's going to manage this defense that's kind of in flux a little bit.
Well, losing Jared Allen is really going to sting.
And Kevin Williams as well. They lost
Yeah,
to
Kevin-
Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, that's true. Kevin Williams was definitely on the regression, but Jared Allen is always a sack master. I was so happy that he was leaving Minnesota, and then he signed with Chicago.
Yeah, I was saying until you saw where he was headed.
I was like, why?
But Mike Zimmer has done quite a bit on defense with names that you don't really recognize, and I'm assuming that's what he's probably going to do here as well. I mean, they brought in some pieces on defense. Biggest addition is probably going to be Linval Joseph from New York, the Giants, not the other terrible football team that plays New Jersey. Jersey.
I'm also excited about Teddy Bridgewater.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am. I think that he has shown some promise already. I don't think they're going to give him the start out of the gate because Castle is going to be starting this 3rd preseason game. But I think there's reason to be optimistic from what he has shown. And if you get him out there, which first of all, I think that it's tough to know what to do in this situation because this is a team that has some parts, has some pieces, and do you want to throw him right in there? Maybe this is the team where you don't want to throw him right in there and you want to keep Castle in and see if you can get some wins on the board before you suddenly throw the season away.
Well, yeah, for him, Bridgewater versus like Blake Bortles, yeah, you're right. They do have some veteran pieces in there, some guys that, you know what, in all honesty, if I was at the helm here, I might be saying, hey, we actually do have a chance to win. Castle may not be a franchise quarterback, but he might be able to get the job done. And yeah, Greg Jennings and Patterson are really good on the outside. Kyle Rudolph is supposed to have a big year.
Well,
they have Adrian Peterson. They have some pieces there.
Kyle Rudolph looks good.
Yeah, to be fair, they have a really tough beginning of the schedule here. The overall schedule isn't the worst, but they go at St. Louis versus New England, at New Orleans, home for Atlanta, and at Green Bay. I could see them going 1-4 or 2-3 there, but if they somehow go 0-5, you might see Teddy Bridgewater if he's not already starting at that.
I think you'll see him if they're 0-3.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, I could see a situation where, they lose. Guess what? You're seeing the future quarterback really
fans will be
early.
clamoring.
All right, coming out the break, we are still talking 2014-15 Minnesota Vikings and also some fantasy implications for their players and your teams. And you listen to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League Show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Donald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League show, and yes, you can still tweet us at SFL Show, but there will be no Donald's mailbag for the 74th straight day because we are talking all 32 NFL teams before the regular season begins because we got to get you ready for your drafts, right?
We're missing the mailbag, of course. We
Yes.
love the mailbag. It's a dear friend of ours.
That's why we make our own questions. We come up with the biggest offseason questions for the team we're reviewing for the day. We still have, I think we have like 10 teams left to go over. We are rushing through the rest of this league, trying to get you prepared for your drafts. But if you're playing at starfantasyleagues.com right now, if you want to learn how to draft your best team, we have mock drafts.
You can play right now.
You could do it
Like literally
right
right
this
now.
second. We've been doing it all day, mock drafting, having some fun, talking with the users. Tell us what you like, what you don't like about the software. We're definitely we're transitioning as we go, adding some features, taking stuff away you don't like. That's how you build the best product.
I mean, we haven't really needed to remove anything
That is true.
because it's pretty freaking awesome.
I'm saying if we don't like it, I don't like the color blue. Guess what? We'll remove the. Actually, we won't do that.
No,
that's
not true. That's a vital component.
And how do you not like the color blue? What's wrong with you?
I love blue.
I know it's my favorite color.
Royal blue.
Yeah, I'm okay with royal blue.
Sky blue.
No.
Turquoise.
Nick's wearing sky-ish blue today.
Yeah,
It's like kind of Carolina bluish.
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that. That's a thing.
Is, yeah. So about this football thing that's happening
What's
in
football?
like 2 weeks.
What?
Can you believe it? Just over 2 weeks? I cannot believe it. I've been waiting for this since February.
Why do you think we've been talking about all 32 NFL teams on the Star Fantasy League show? We are preparing for football. We're trying to bridge the gap between no football and football, and that's the best way to do it.
That's why I haven't been missing the mailbag that much.
That's
this
true.
is just so much fun to talk about.
All right, you know what? We have to talk more about the Minnesota Vikings 2014-15 outlook. And the biggest question I have is, again, not a player. It's how much of an impact will Norv Turner have on the Minnesota offense regardless of who's under center?
I think it's going to be immense. I really think it's going to be huge. I think he realizes the pieces that are – he's always been good at realizing what pieces he has in his offense. Last season, Cordarrelle Patterson, was underused, terribly underused, and they have made it a point saying they're going to run a lot of the offense through him. I think Patterson becomes the number one receiver in this offense. I think Greg Jennings is a nice compliment, and I think that Adrian Peterson is poised for one of the biggest seasons. Well, the biggest season he's had since 2 years ago.
I was going to say, except for, that almost 2,100 yard season.
Yeah, I forgot about the Eric Dickerson season, but yeah,
A
I
great
really do.
season,
I really do think that that's a possibility.
I completely agree. I think that Norv Turner is the man. I think that he has proven throughout his tenure in the league that he is a top-of-the-line offensive coach, and I think he'll have it all clicking. I mean, we saw what he did. Even as a head coach, he was heavily involved in the offense because that's what he does. As a head coach in Oakland, in San Diego, that was their strong point. That is what they were able to do. I mean, he made pieces in Oakland that were awful look remotely competent at times.
We talked about all these players that he's going to affect, but you didn't mention the one that I think he's going to affect the most is Kyle Rudolph, because all of his systems seem to kind of focus on a pass-catching tight end, and this is a guy who clearly can catch the ball in Kyle Rudolph, who had a pretty big year 2 years ago, and then this year he had like 30 catches. He was really bad.
It's absolutely true. Look at Zach Miller in Oakland.
He made him into a
all
he
of a
made
sudden
a ton
you're
of money.
thinking
It was
this
terrible.
guy's going to leave Oakland and be a dominant tight end. Absolutely not.
Russell Wilson doesn't even know what his name is.
Kyle Rudolph, an already good tight end, he could easily be one of the dark horse tight ends this fantasy season.
Yeah, the fact that let's talk about him right now in fantasy perspective, because I feel like where he's going right now is a tight end 9, 84th overall in the 7th round. If you can get him there, I love that pick this season. If you don't get one of the top 4 or 5 guys, I think he could be a top 5 guy.
What round is that in?
That's the 7th round.
7th round?
I'm saying if you don't get a Cameron or a Jimmy Graham or a Gronk or a Witten.
Yeah, but you know what? I've
that.
wrestled with this because I'm not so sold on picking a tight end so high. I really don't know that the drop-off is so sharp that you can't find somebody like Kyle Rudolph in the 7th round.
If you wait too long, I've noticed this in a bunch of mocks, if you wait till like the 8th or 9th round, you're left with guys where you go, oh, Ladarius Green, oh, Zach Ertz. They could be the guy, but they also have these veterans there that are kind of pushing them for the job.
That's true. I mean, Rudolph and Olsen and Jordan Reed, all those guys are right around those middle rounds.
Yeah, 7th, 8th, yeah.
I almost feel more comfortable taking them than I do taking Jordan Cameron, just because I know Cameron has big breakout potential, but there I'm looking at big wide receivers or running backs, and I have such a tough time pulling the trigger on those
Well, you've got some of these guys that are just falling in some instances. Jason Witten has been falling in some drafts. Yep. When you have all those, you got Reed, you got Rudolph, you got Olsen, you got Witten just ahead of them. Those are a bunch of good options to look at, and a bunch of potential great options in PPR.
Yep.
So, I don't have a problem with – I would love to have Rudolph. I would love to have any one of those guys, though. That's the thing, is that I wouldn't mind taking any of them and feeling pretty good about it. I mean, Jordan Reed, little concerning for me for whatever reason. I don't really know exactly what it is.
We just bashed RG3 unmercifully, so that happened.
He's the one guy out of that group that's a little concerning for me. You know I love Olsen. I love Witten. He is a constant. But I think Rudolph is the guy – that you can see the floor right now, but that the ceiling could be really, really high.
Yeah,
especially in this offense.
Yeah, Norv Turner offense, that's all you have to say about it. But here's the second biggest question for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think it's one that a lot of people fantasy-wise won't pick up on because maybe they just don't know. But will Minnesota be playing at a disadvantage in their quote-unquote home games at Gopher Stadium? They're not playing in a stadium that they're comfortable with. They've never played in this stadium before. It's outdoors. They're used to playing at home. Adrian Peterson used to play half his games in a dome on AstroTurf, and now you're going to a stadium you're just not familiar with. Outdoor, I mean, how comfortable are they playing in the cold in the winter? We don't know.
That is a really good point. I mean, I really haven't thought about that.
That's what I say. This is the biggest intangible I've seen on a team that's completely changing the face of them.
It is. I mean, at the same time, you can kind of look over to Green Bay and see how they play outdoors.
Yeah, the one thing for me looking at this is that you look at this division, this might be the one division in the NFL where you've got constant cold weather games.
Except for Detroit.
Except for Detroit. And so you have to be ready for that. They've played in it before. It's nothing new to them.
I mean, if you think about it, that's only if you're the Minnesota Vikings, that's 2 games a season. That's at Green Bay and at Chicago, and other than that, you're pretty much fine. Because all the other games they're playing are in a dome at home. Those are interdivision games. They don't really care.
Yeah,
I think this is going to be an absolute major impact.
It is definitely interesting to think about. The one thing is that the Green Bay game is pretty early on. Their Chicago game is in November, but the Green Bay game is at the beginning of October. So they should be in pretty good shape overall in terms of where they have to play later in the season. But
yeah, I mean, really, the only game they have Chicago at home in Week 17, and they have the Jets at home in Week 14. I mean, I know they do have Green Bay and Carolina at home before them, but I can't see it getting so cold that it's really going to have a major effect.
It's Minnesota.
Yeah, I understand. I get that, but it's not going to be like ice.
It is interesting to think about. I don't think it'll stop, Adrian Peterson in any way whatsoever. Norv Turner's offense, yes, has been designed for some big playmaking capabilities, but these quarterbacks, with where they're at right now, who Matt Castle is as a player and who Bridgewater is right now, and not who he could be in the future, but where he is at, they're not going to be seeing a lot of big play stuff. They're not going to be chucking it down the field all the time. They're going to have a lot of short passes, a pretty conservative offense, and that should at least help them with the weather.
All right, interesting. I just wanted to bring that up because I have, for some reason, reading fantasy for this team, I haven't seen anybody talk about this at all, which seems kind of concerning that nobody's paying attention to it.
Something to watch. For sure.
Yeah, and fantasy from weather standpoint is a lot bigger deal than people weigh in for.
That is very true. It's one of those intangibles you have to pay attention to. There are quite a few intangibles, and we're going to break them down as the season goes on, especially for daily fantasy when you have an entire league worth of players to look at.
Yeah, weather and wind for daily is huge.
That is true, especially if you're picking kickers. Oh, wait, we don't have kickers on StarFantasyLeagues.com. Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Kickers, the worst.
Stink.
All right, let's talk about average draft position. We're getting into the fantasy meat and bones of the Minnesota Vikings. Why, oh why, would anyone draft a quarterback from this team ever?
Well, I know one player I'm going to be drafting, Blair Walsh, baby. Oh, yeah.
Gotta love Blair Walsh.
Coming in hot.
Didn't we just say how much I hated talking about kickers, and the first thing you bring up is Blair Walsh?
Okay, well, why would we talk about the quarterbacks? I don't think either of them are on the redraft radar right now. I think that's kind of a wait-and-see thing.
Yeah, I honestly, even if one of them is named the starter today, no, thank you.
I mean, I'm curious to see. I know everybody's taking LaShawn McCoy and Jamal Charles first and second.
This is what I was just going to say.
I want to know why people aren't taking Peterson.
I mean, if you look at McCoy, Charles, and Forte, and then Peterson's there, yes, there's the whole PPR thing. Yes, he's a year older, but he has absolutely no sign of slowing down.
Absolutely.
None. I mean, and Norv Turner has voiced that he wants him to be more involved in the passing game.
Yep.
So I think he might have a little bit higher of a ceiling than we expect.
I think that the 3 pick is probably the best pick to have in the draft because you get to have whoever everybody else doesn't want.
Yeah, you're pretty much just routinely getting Peterson with the 3rd pick.
Well, and you're locked.
And you don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, you're locked into one of the 3 top guys, and it's almost always Peterson. And you don't okay. If you have the number 1 pick, are you really excited to go after Peterson at 1?
I would. I would. I really think that this is a division that he can thrive in because the run defenses in this division have not been good. I think that this is also a new offense and a new chance for him to take more points.
To catch something?
To catch the ball, exactly.
What,
if you're in a
what do
PPR
you
league,
think his most catches are in a season? Honestly, I haven't looked.
I think probably like 20, 30.
He had 29 this season.
I mean, you're looking at the most versatility that he has had in a while in terms of the offense that is around him, yet he is still the centerpiece. And it's just hard to see anything else happening here. Gerhardt isn't in there as the occasional touchdown vulture.
No, it's Asiata now, who apparently was a beast for 1 week and then disappeared forever.
43 receptions. That's the most that he's ever had.
That was probably his 2009 overall.
That was 2009.
And he had 40 in 2012.
Yep.
I mean, if he can get that again, if he can get up to 50, if he can get somewhere around 50, he's the number one overall guy.
Absolutely.
He's the number one guy.
I would be ecstatic with 40. I think 40 is going to be great. I think that's great. That's a great addition to a guy who's probably going to run for 1,500 yards and over 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, what you just said, an extra 11 catches, that's probably going to be around 20 to 25 extra fantasy points for your season.
Yeah, you see these guys, Charles and Forte and McCoy, they need the catches.
Yep.
I mean, yes, they can have a huge 121-yard rushing game or whatever, but it doesn't happen all the time, not like Peterson, who is 80-plus like clockwork.
I don't know
Especially
about that.
Charles doesn't have a lot of receivers with him. McCoy does have a little bit of a different thing going on there. I don't know.
I think Charles can rush for quite a bit of yards if he needs to. It's whatever. It's Kansas City. We don't want to talk. We're done with Kansas City. I don't want to talk about that anymore. Coming after the break, we're going to talk about some more players on Minnesota's offense in fantasy. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League show with Jonathan, Zach, and Nick. Only on The Team.
We are back, and we're still not done with the 2014-15 Minnesota Vikings. How did this happen? How are we still talking about this team?
Don't worry. Green Bay will dispose of them
Great.
properly.
That's you had to bring it back around to Green Bay. What a surprise. We talked about the quarterback situation and the man, Adrian Peterson, before the break. Let's talk about the supporting cast of the Minnesota Vikings from a fantasy perspective. The number one guy I still want to talk about is this Cordarrelle Patterson guy. Cordero. Yeah, nobody can pronounce his name right, and I'm not surprised because I think he's the first person to ever be named Cordero.
Probably.
Yep.
But that's how you get famous, right?
Or, you catch a lot of balls in the NFL. That's another way.
Corpat.
Corpat? No. I don't know.
How about Corperel? Corperel?
No.
Corporal?
Rel.
I don't see.
Yo, what up, Rel?
No, you.
No.
What? No, don't make up nicknames. We can't pronounce names. We're fine with it. It's okay. It happens on the show all the time. A lot more than it should.
All right, well, my boy CDP is definitely going to be hitting it up big.
You know what?
this year.
That works because we have ADP and we can have CDP too. I like that.
That's fine.
I think it's pretty clear that they want to run a lot of the offense through him this year. Last season, I think we saw a few too many short bubble screen passes, stuff like that. It's good to get him into space, but I really want to see what he can do on the run. I want to see what he can do deeper in the pass game.
How can I touch him where he's being drafted? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know.
I literally cannot touch him. I mean, where is he at right now?
He's wide receiver 19, 44th overall in the fourth round.
That is insane.
That is ridiculous.
I've seen him regularly going off in the fourth round, and I'm like, I'll see the name and I'll just be like stunned.
It doesn't make sense.
To be okay,
He doesn't. You don't have anything to go off of. You're hoping and praying that he's going to be a good receiver this year. You can't even guarantee that he's going to have 1,000 yards.
Yeah, players going around that spot include. It's a weird spot for wide receivers. I don't like a lot of them.
There's players that are going below him that I love.
That's what I'm saying. I would prefer to wait an entire round, and guys that are going in the next round are T.Y. Hilton, Julian Edelman, Deshaun Jackson, Macklin, Kendall Wright, Torrey Smith. I like all those guys more than I like Cordarrelle Patterson.
Okay, so who is going around Patterson?
Patterson, that crew is Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Crabtree, Michael Floyd. I actually like Michael Floyd a lot. Percy Harvin, other receivers right
but
around
just
him.
a few picks below Andre Johnson.
Yep.
That's nuts.
That does not make sense.
Okay, it goes Andre Johnson, Wes Welker, and then kind of drop. Like I actually do like. I think Welker might be the drop point.
See, but I think
PPR
if you're there and you're looking at taking Patterson or, Larry Fitzgerald you could make a case for, but he's kind of tapering off.
He's the number 2
That's
there now.
where I would be like, okay, now I'm comfortable taking Julius Thomas or Jordan Cameron or something like that. That's where I'm like, okay, now I'm okay with taking a tight end. I know this guy's production is going to be better, and I can get a wide receiver on the backside.
Yeah, Jordan Cameron's going at 53, which is a little bit later than that. But if you have around the 48th
I would reach
pick,
right up over all of those guys and say, okay, I'll take him because I know he's not going to be there on the way back.
Nope.
I'll take him now. But then on the way back, I got a bunch of wide receivers to pick from.
Yeah, I keep stressing this. Wide receiver is the deepest in the entire NFL. You can find guys in the very last round that you like that have some upside. Marquise Lee keeps coming to mind. I keep seeing him in the last couple rounds on StarFantasyLeague.com mock drafts.
And ideally in PPR, you're going to want 3 of them starting. Ideally, wide receivers.
Yeah, well, unless you have a pass catching right.
There's like a couple unique.
Danny
situations.
Woodhead is my guy. Like a Darren Sproles might be my flex guy, just because they can go out there and get you the 15, 16 point fantasy weeks, just because of their catches alone.
Right. Yeah. That's the rare situation where that is the case. Otherwise, you're seeing so many guys down here that are great options. I can't believe in some of these, Kendall Wright going so like more further down than Edelman. I just don't agree with that.
Well, yeah.
Edelman's probably going to catch 90 balls. That's the thing. Tom Brady is going
Maybe.
it depends on how much Gronk's involved.
His numbers dramatically decreased with Gronk there.
That's true.
And they got a few more pieces in there now. Amendola probably will be done soon again.
I'll say he'll play 2 weeks.
But he's in there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hands out there that Tom Brady can throw the ball to.
Yeah, it's true. How much do the kids get? Like Kimbrel Tompkins, how much is he going to get involved? Dobson.
The thing of it is that I just don't understand how you figure this guy, Patterson, is going to go from 45 catches and 469 yards up to being in that area. Should probably
Crazy.
be somewhere in the 80 to 90 catch,
1,200
yard range. That's insane.
Nuts.
That's not gonna. I can't. You can't bet the house on that. Now, if you're taking him in the 5th or 6th round, okay. Now we're talking about maybe he has some upside. He has a high ceiling. You do know they're going to run the offense through him. He's going to get his opportunities. But the big playability hasn't been proven yet. We don't know that he's going to go streaking for an 80-yard touchdown 2 or 3 times in the season. You need to know. Yeah, Andre Johnson is going to go for deep balls. He's going to be making 50, 60-yard grabs in the game. Those are big points. That's why you draft those guys in the 3rd and 4th round.
That is true. All right, before we move on from this team, I just want to get your thoughts on anybody else, because you already talked about Rudolph. We said that we actually, I think we like him.
I would say we like that position.
Yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is anybody not named Cordell Patterson in the receiving core, because Jennings is going basically in the 13th round, and then you can get Simpson or Jarris Wright. I actually think I like Jarris Wright obviously as a flyer late.
Yeah, there's a lot of flyers that I like a lot more than that. Greg Jennings, I would consider as a bench stack. I think he might actually have a couple of good games, and you might be able to play a matchup here or there, but I wouldn't be that confident.
But he was weird, because I remember trying to play him in daily when he had great matchups, and he was terrible. But in weirdly difficult matchups, he did really well.
Well,
which
he
reverse splits.
Thanks. Come back to Green Bay. Come back where you belong.
All right. Anything else we want to add before we move on to mock drafts?
I think that's about all the fantasy viability for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said I don't know how we got through almost 3 segments of that.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a few minutes here. We talked about mock draft Monday. We did a mock draft with all of the StarFantasyLeagues.com players, right?
Peeps.
We'll consider us play. Yeah, peeps, sure, why not? It was Nick, Zach, myself, and Jason. We decided to do this with the rest of the SFL bots, right? Is that what we call them? You do a mock draft,
they're
they
the
put
SFL
the bots
bots
in there.
Yep.
All right, so through 3 rounds, Zach had Megatron, Julio Jones, and Peyton Manning. Nick had Gio Bernard, A.J. Green, and Pierre Garçon. Jason had Demaryius Thomas, Brandon Marshall, and Drew Brees. And I had Monty Ball, Marshawn Lynch, and Andre Johnson. So let's head right into the 4th round. Man, 4th round, I feel like this is where it kind of went a little weird for me, because I got to the 4th round, 3rd pick overall in the 4th, and I went Jordan Cameron. I went and reached up because I didn't really like anything else. Because of the fact that my team was made up the way it was with running back, wide receiver, I kind of had to either grab a wide receiver or tight end here.
Yeah, it kind of. Were you after that?
Yeah, I was after him.
You took T. Rich?
No, that was Jason.
I was 2 picks after him.
Yeah, Jason Rich.
You took Rodgers.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm really not sure how Rodgers fell to me. I don't.
It's because of the bots.
Sure, but there were a couple of guys right in front of him.
Those jerky bots.
There's a couple of guys right in front of me that should have been taking him. I don't understand why you went Cameron here. I'm going to be honest.
Well, Breeze was already gone. I already had Manning.
No, I'm asking.
So it would have been John.
I'm saying, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You're accusing John of not taking Aaron
I don't
Rodgers.
understand why you didn't go with Aaron Rodgers there.
I'm going to keep saying it. I don't believe in taking the top 4 quarterbacks unless you can get them really late. I don't ever do it. I don't ever do it.
The 4th round isn't late? You're talking 5th, 6th round?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. The fact we're going to talk about this as I go on because through 6 rounds, I still don't have a quarterback, and I ended up with 2 guys that I'm going to stream all season.
All right,
I'm perfectly okay with it.
Fair enough. The other thing with Cameron there is that I feel like there were still some options out there. I think on the way back, I know that Witten and Davis went in that same round. But then you can look down, and I know Jordan Reed, we kind of have issues with him, and then
I think
Kyle
Cameron
Rudolph is down there.
Once Josh Gordon is gone for the season, Jordan Cameron's value is going to skyrocket, and I feel like basically in the 4th round here, I think he could be a top 3 tight end.
I have that feeling too to some degree, but this quarterback situation is making me extremely nervous.
That is very true. All right, let's continue here because you said you got Aaron Rodgers with the 5th pick in this round, and then right after that, Zach went. I believe this was your first running back, wasn't it, Zach?
Yup.
Yeah, you went wide receiver, quarterback, and then you grabbed Bishop Sankey.
Sankey was my pick.
Are you okay with your 4th or your first running back being Bishop Sankey?
Yeah, I have no problem with it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried at this point in the 4th round. I'm worried for your team.
Okay, that is perfectly fine because at this point in the 4th round,
you're worried.
I was a little concerned
yeah.
about my team, but then I ended up not being concerned at all for a multitude of reasons, which we'll talk about later on. But what I was seeing, thanks to the SFL bots, in this draft, the SFL bots kind of acted like those streaky, runs of picks that take people off the board. It happened with the running backs. It happened with the tight ends. And when I was looking at it, there were a few top guys at running back, potential top guys at running back that I could take, and Bishop Sankey was one of them. So I grabbed him off the board.
All right, so let's move on to the 5th round. We got a few minutes left here. You came back around and you grabbed another running back who I still think can have a consistently decent season. It's Frank Gore for the 48th year in a row.
I saw Frank Gore in this preseason game on Sunday against Denver, and he was literally the only person on that team that looked good.
Yeah,
He's running hard.
Really surprised he's fallen down.
I am too.
I still think
he's
he should
running
be
hard. Carlos Hyde
round.
isn't just taking over or something. None of that is happening right now.
Yeah.
Frank Gore is the guy.
Wasn't that supposed to happen
Carlos
with-
Hyde isn't ready to block.
Wasn't that supposed to happen
protection.
with LaMichael James as well? And that never happened.
And it never happened. He is as reliable as they get.
Yep.
And, I was more than happy to grab him up.
And right after you took Frank Gore, I feel like the running backs kind of stopped. Nick took Roddy White, Jason took Larry Fitzgerald, and I somehow got Keenan Allen at the end of this. And I love Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
love him.
I'm not as high on Keenan Allen as you are.
You're high on Roddy. I'm high on
I
Keenan.
love Roddy.
If we had switched picks, I think the picks would have been the exact opposite. I would have still gone with Keenan.
Yeah, I can see that. I just Keenan Allen just makes me nervous because of the fact that he broke out in really the middle of the season, and now teams have had a chance to actually catch up, and they know what he's all about. He's going to be the number 1 receiver in this offense, and he's going to go up against the number 1 cornerback in every defense. I don't know. I'm not ready to commit a higher pick to him. Roddy White.
I agree with Nick.
Of course you do.
I just don't think he commands going. I think you got him in a fine spot.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
I don't have a problem with where you got him at all.
Last of the 5th round?
I would have gone with Roddy as well, but that's literally like picking at hairs right now.
All right, let's get into the 6th round because I'm up again, and I went with a guy that you like, so you can't be mad at me. I went with Kendall Wright.
I love Kendall Wright.
Yeah,
I love Kendall
knew you
Wright.
couldn't complain.
He was one of my shining stars last year.
Yep,
and
you were on him way before the season.
Yeah,
started.
and he started up a little bit higher in ADP. He's dropped down a little bit.
Perfect.
I mean, I see some of the reasons why, but not that much. I think he's a go-to guy. I think he's reliable, and I think he's going to continue to get better.
Yep.
So,
Here's my only issue. In the next round, you have Mike Wallace, Deshaun Jackson, Percy Harvin, and Torrey Smith and Reggie Wayne. All 5 of those guys I would put higher than Kendall Wright.
Really?
All 5 of them. Yep.
Wow, I don't.
who?
I don't. Yeah.
Mike Wallace,
Ugh,
Deshaun
no.
Jackson, Percy Harvin,
Torrey Smith.
You put Mike Wallace
can make all
and
the
Deshaun
noises
Jackson?
You want. You can make all the noises you want. I think Mike Wallace is extremely underrated.
Oh, my
Deshaun
God.
Jackson, yeah, I do. He hasn't even been given a chance with Ryan Tannehill. And Deshaun Jackson's big play. Percy Harvin's going to be the
So
focus of that offense.
you're projecting all of those players
All
above
of them.
Kendall Wright.
All of them.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
man. Zach
All right.
and I are not agreeing with you whatsoever, but
Every
that's the
single
best
one.
part about fantasy football. We don't have to agree. All right, coming off the break, we are breaking down our draft strategies for our mock draft and wrapping up the Star Fantasy League show. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
Before the break, Nick, Zach, and I were fighting, as we seem to do all the time when we're talking about mock drafts on StarFantasyLeagues.com, and boy, did we ever get in a nice little argument there.
Dude, I mean, do you want to go over
fantasy
the
arguments? Are the best.
All right, so here's my stance. Okay, I'm going to take two of those like 6 or 7 guys that I just rattled off, and I think that they are both going to finish over Kendall Wright. So I picked Torrey Smith and Mike Wallace. I think both of those guys are going to fare much better than Kendall Wright. Not more, but they're just going to be better. Torrey Smith is going into Gary Kubiak's offense. He's going to be Andre Johnson 2.0. And Mike Wallace is finally going to have a second year with Ryan Tannehill, who I think is extremely underrated.
So you think Torrey Smith is dropping way too far down?
Yes. I think Torrey Smith has a potential to turn some heads this year. I think if you can get him as your flex, you are set, my friend.
Interesting. So this big fight happened because we were talking about me picking Kendall Wright in the 3rd pick of the 6th round. Right after that, Jason picked Jordan Reed. Nick went with Fred Jackson, and Zach went with Kyle Rudolph. I like Kyle Rudolph.
Rudolfo.
Yeah, maybe I'm reconsidering Jordan Cameron in the 4th because I probably could have gotten something good there, and then.
Well, yeah, but then you could have been stuck with me, and I had my starting tight end is Austin Safarian Jenkins. I messed that up.
Well, I've done that before too.
That was the tight end streak of bots.
Yes, it was.
But
at the same time, I waited too long on that one, and then Richard Rodgers I got as a backup.
I actually like Richard
Rodgers.
Rodgers.
Yeah, but we're talking about hoping that the ceiling is extremely high here.
The reason I took Sankey and Gore was because I knew the bots were going to take these guys, and then that was the same reason I took Rudolph because I forget a couple guys like Olsen or somebody went off before Rudolph got to me, and I was like, I got to take him.
Yeah, you got to make the decision.
Otherwise, I'm out.
All right, so through 6 rounds, Zach, you went running back, tight end today. Nick went QB, wide receiver, running back. Jason went running back, wide receiver, tight end. And I went tight end and 2 wide receivers because I had absolutely nobody to catch the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it wasn't not a terrible way to go all around. I think everybody just kind of fit to their strengths from their first 2 or 3 picks.
I kind of wish this wasn't a mock draft because I feel like the more we talk about this, the more
that
competition
this should be a
we're
real
going to have
league.
going on. Yeah.
All right, you know what we're going to do as this goes on? We're going to have a Star Fantasy League show, actual fantasy league. We'll set one up on StarFantasyLeagues.com. The listeners of this show, you should get involved. We'll post it on Twitter when we get it all set up. We'll make a real league, and throughout the season, we'll actually discuss all these points. We'll get SFL Seth in here as well so he can bring up the rear in the league. That'll be fun for him, right?
Yes, I would. That would be hilarious for all involved. It'll be a good time.
But you know what? If you want to get in one of these leagues, we're going to do it for free. It'll be for star points, obviously, since we are playing and it wouldn't be fair. But let's be honest. If you want to get in some of those cash leagues, we had some going off yesterday. It was a lot of fun. I have, I think it's a bonus offer for you, right?
Oh, it's huge.
How about free 14? That's FREE14. Enter when you deposit. 100% bonus all the way up to $2,000.
You haven't seen Nick trying to deposit, have you?
No. And also, I said 100% to $2,000, but that's boring, right? What if I added $11 in free credit right into your account so you could play today?
So I could literally just go in there, get my bonus, not even having played with any money yet.
And free cash, $11.
And just play an $11 league.
Yep, free 14, FREE14. That's how you get the bonus. You get free cash. You get to play in our daily and our season-long fantasy leagues on StarFantasyLeagues.com.
This is like a high-quality infomercial, but much more entertaining.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, yeah, infomercials, you don't get to hear 3 guys who enjoy talking crap about each other.
And you don't get to play fantasy sports when you watch an infomercial.
Oh, yeah, you know what the best part about playing fantasy sports? At the end of the season, you don't have to worry about your stupid friends paying you.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Or another losing season from the Bills.
You know what my favorite was? When somebody told me that the Target credit card scandal was the reason that the league couldn't be paid out. That was great. Yeah, totally. Didn't happen.
Yeah,
you don't even shop at Target.
I got paid out in one of my leagues like a month ago.
Oh,
for
my
real.
God, that's just sad. I feel so bad for you. Play on StarFantasyLeagues.com. It's the best way to enter leagues and get paid when you win them. All right, and if you also think that it's cool to blame Target for your fantasy football losses, don't do that. Seriously, play on StarFantasyLeagues.com. Take it easy, guys.